We often see lists of what creatures in Africa kill the most humans. And, there's lions will kill, I don't know, a few, and hippos kill a fair number. And then the one at the top of the list is always mosquitoes. And a couple of things have always bothered me about those lists. One of them is that humans aren't listed on the list anywhere, ever. And humans kill a lot more humans in Africa and everywhere than hippos do. But the other thing that bothers me about it is that it's a little bit sloppy thinking, that because mosquitoes don't actually kill anybody, they can be vectors for a disease, but the mosquito itself is not actually killing anyone. That nobody ever says that, sneezes cause colds. Sneezes can cause the cold to be transferred from one person to another. And we can certainly argue, and there are good arguments to be made, that if somebody has HIV and intentionally infects another person, it was actually, but that it's the HIV that kills someone, or well, it's the opportunistic diseases arising from the HIV, but that person still had a role in it. But that still feels different than the mosquitoes to me. The mosquitoes are simply feeding. And it's a really interesting predatory strategy that, if a mountain lion eats a deer, it kills the deer, eats the deer, and that's it. And what the mosquitoes have done is just figured out a little niche where they can just take this much blood from this creature and this much blood from this creature. And in almost no cases do mosquitoes actually kill. There are a few cases where they do, and that's usually in the Arctic. The mosquitoes or black flies can be so thick that they can actually drain enough blood to kill, just as there are some ticks who are killing moose these days in the northeastern United States. But for the most part, the ticks, the mosquitoes are not actual killers. The malaria is the killer, or whatever other diseases they're passing on. And I want to say one more thing about mosquitoes that I just find extraordinary. That it ends up, okay, so we all know, or we at this point, most of us know, that one of the functions that predators serve is to push herbivores around and make it so the herbivores don't get lazy and eat too much of the vegetation near streams, for example. So if you don't have wolves, there'll be too many deer, too many elk, and they'll hang out at the easiest places, and that will very much damage the stream and make it so there's not enough trees coming up, enough bushes coming up. They harm ground-dwelling birds because they eat all the shrubbery. And then you bring wolves in, or let wolves come back, and they will chase the herbivores around. It ends up that in the Arctic, the black flies and the mosquitoes perform the same function, that they make sure that the caribou don't stay in one place too long, because a swarm of mosquitoes and black flies will descend upon them. So they will move the herd along exactly like the wolves do. And another thing interesting about this, and I just love when this happens, or when I find out these things, is that the same thing happens with grasshoppers and spiders. That if you don't have enough spiders in an area, the grasshoppers will be just like the deer, and they'll congregate too heavily, and they'll get lazy, and they won't move from brush to brush or from area to area, eating a little bit here, a little bit there. But instead, they'll just, like any of us, they'll just sit around and eat, like I would do. And spiders perform the precise same function of chasing the grasshoppers around and making it so they don't get too contented. I'm not making a point here about mosquitoes driving humans around, except I will say that I went up to the Northwest Territories back when I was about 30, and it was absolutely gorgeous to see these unbroken forests for just hundreds of miles. It was absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, I spent almost the entire time inside my car, because every time I would get out, like one night, it's maybe more detail than you want, but one night I'm sleeping in the back of the car and I can hear the mosquitoes tapping on the, it was like a ghost story, you know, I hear the mosquitoes tapping on the car windows, hitting it. And at some point I had to get up and pee. I'm fully dressed. I get up, unzip, and pee. And in the time it took me to pee and then get back in the car, I got bit probably 10 or 15 times just on exposed hands and exposed other parts. So mosquitoes. So we can argue actually that mosquitoes would perform an important function there of driving humans out. I didn't stay outside there. I didn't stay there. And that's an important ecological function too. Anyway, back to the original point, mosquitoes don't actually kill people. It's the malaria, et cetera, that kills people.